let's get started then. So recently, maybe you can talk about your adventures in Imba too, or in Scrimba, Sindre.
Yeah, it's so I haven't done a lot on Imba in the last week or so, and that's because I've been extremely busy with rewriting Scrimba in Imba 2, and it's actually going really well. Like it's even better than I had thought beforehand. The styling, the inline styles, and how all of that works. And it's also, we're also using SSR, like server-side rendering. So I had to fix a bunch of things in Imba to make that work, but that also works really well. So it's obviously also because we have changed the whole architecture, but the Scrimba side is now, it's so much faster than before. Like, before it could be really slow, especially because we have more users than the current infrastructure or the current architecture could handle well. So in the latest tests, we're actually going from like 8 seconds time to interactivity in the worst cases to 0.4 seconds. So it's really nice, and it's pleasant to work with. There are still a few issues, some syntax highlighting that doesn't work, some auto completions that are missing or that are wrong, but overall I'm pleasantly surprised about how mature it actually feels in production now.
Nice. So do you want to show something, or do you want to move on to the next topic?
I think we can move on to the next topic. I can show for the next meeting. I actually think the whole rewrite will be deployed, so then we can show it then.
Awesome. So one thing I wanted to highlight is, like, I think it's amazing now when you use the VS Code extension in the new code base. It's so fast, and I've had some issues, but like you have so much auto completion now. So that's really, really nice. So the next topic is the snowpack and Vite stuff. Maybe Eloris, could you tell us what's going on there?
Yes, so snowpack is published. I keep releasing some smaller bug fixes whenever I get some feedback. So yes, please check it out, test it out, test out some strange cases, and let me know the things that are not yet working well with snowpack. I'm very interested in that. I'm currently working on a compiler with Rollup, which is very straightforward, very simple. As part of that, I started really looking into the Imba compiler. I would love to see a bit more documentation about the inner workings of the compiler, or which parameters are semi-official so that I can use them. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just picking up here and there couple of things that seem to be useful. I'm just wondering that if things are in flux, they might change a little bit in the future, and we will have to adapt all these different tools because they will stop working at that moment. So I'm trying to avoid issues there. So if I can have already an idea what is more or less stable, that would be best. Now, a rollup is a precondition to get Vite up and running. So I'm just about to publish rollup on NPM, but apparently I cannot change the GitHub repository once I publish it on NPM. So I need your feedback, guys. If you want me to put it on the Imba site.
Yeah, sure. If you want to do that, that's great. I think we've yeah.
Okay, I will do that, and then I publish it on NPM. I can do that today, so then it will be finished, and then I start looking into, well, I looked already into Vite, so that shouldn't be too dramatic. That should also be up and running in the next days.
Do you think, now that you've looked into both snowpack and Vite, which do you prefer? Like, which do you think looks more mature and more
from my perception, not to step on the toes of the snowpack developer, I think he did a great job, but I like the inner structure of it better. It's better documented. It has much more hooks and steps where you can actually influence what is happening. On the other hand, it's very complex, difficult to understand it fully. from A to Z. So it's not just using Vite, but it's actually writing a compiler and taking advantage of all the hooks that Vite offers. It's quite a complex task. So but I really like the way how it's organized. So it's well thought out from A till Z. And I'm pretty confident that once we get Vite up and running for Imba, we will have a very pleasing experience. I'm still, struggling a little bit how to implement, if ever, the hot module reloading for it. And I have to see how that works with the CSS. The latest switch that you implemented, Sindre, was to externalize CSS or not to have it inline.
Yeah, in an extremely clumsy flag that I just added to make it work on the Scrimba code base.
It's perfect. I was playing already with it a little bit, and I plan to support that eventually as well. So there's quite a lot of nice things ahead.
Very cool. Yeah.
Sounds good. So the next topic is the Imba organization. So Sindre, I think Eric said on Discord that he gave you access to it. Can you share access to me and maybe you, Loris? So you probably just log into NPM and then just add us to the organization.
Yeah, organizations. Just 1 second. So do I need to add invite members? Yeah. What is your NPM username? Do you remember that?
I think it's just, let's see, like this. Yeah, I think that's it. NPM, oops.
I can look at the Imba package.
Yeah, I was going to look it up too.
Maybe I should, it would be nice. Maybe we should start, it's Alemahu. Maybe I should start, we should publish the Imba rollup and everything like that in the organization as well.
Yeah,
that would
be good.
Then we could also, I'm not sure how that works, but we could theoretically call it rollup so that people install it with @imba/rollup. But I'm not sure if that's adds some conflict or. Yeah.
No. It's not going to add any conflicts. I think we get a different namespace. We just look at what the Vue people are doing. It's really nice. It's, yeah.
There's just one thing. The plugins that belong to Rollup, they just have a shorter name, but Rollup asks everybody who develops plugins for Rollup to use the full name. So Rollup dash plugin dash Imba in our case. So we should try to follow that recommendation.
I agree. It's good.
The same happens probably with snowpack as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So, see, I think I'm unmuted now. I'm trying out the short. There is a small button on the side here. Hopefully, you can hear me.
Yes.
So, the documentation status. I was going to try to set up like a proposal, and to be honest, I really did try to set the time for it, but stuff just came up, and it's still on the to-do. So, you, Loris, did you have anything you wanted to talk about here in the documentation section?
Yes, sure. I'm very much looking forward to see nice organization of the Imba related topics. I started looking at other projects, I mean, Vue and Pyramid and a number of others. I really like the way how they structured their documentation. And my proposal was a little bit based on what I had seen on other pages as well.
Where is your proposal? Where is it?
I have published a link on I will publish it again. It's actually, I set it up online on a site called Checklist. If you let me share my screen, I can quickly show you how that works.
Yeah, sure. Let me stop sharing.
He shared it on the documentation channel on Discord.
Yes.
Yeah, just see if you want to share your screen, no worries. It should be possible now. Can you try sharing?
Yes, I'm just about it. Hold on, I'm just choosing the right window. Here we are, share. So let me choose the right list, Imba documentation. Here we are. All right, are you seeing this?
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, Imba documentation. I have created 4 slots for Sindre, Alexander, Erik, and myself. If you open Eoloris, here you have the different chapters. Of course, we can drop some of these. They are not all needed. So quick start examples, get to know Imba, language reference, how to troubleshooting, and defending Imba design. Sindra already told me that he liked what is under the defending Imba design.
Yeah.
This is actually based on what I had read on the Pyramid website, Pyramid Python. That's a project for Python. They use also defending pyramid design, so they justify all the different decisions they took. I like that a lot. This is also a way of trapping people into Imba. I mean, people coming from different backgrounds, newcomers to programming in general, but also people coming from standard languages, Java, Python, Ruby, or people coming from the React side, or well, people that have tried out all these fancy compilers, stencils, and whatever they're called. So we should have something small for each one of those where we can show, okay, how does it benefit to learn Imba? Imba, in the end, is a new syntax. So it's an effort that I have to do, and there should be some positive side of spending that effort. That is what we are trying to sell here. Okay, the other chapters, I try to have as many entry points as you guys were suggesting. So for people that just want to quickly see what's the value of Imba in 5 minutes or less, what can we quickly show them, including some screencasts would be very nice. Then having an Imba cheat sheet, PDF, 1-page or 2-page PDF, where we very succinctly write about the syntax. That would be very nice as well. Test your knowledge gives a little bit more interactivity. It's just a suggestion. Examples, yeah, everything that can be done with Imba, not just to restrict people to writing a classical web application, but telling them that Imba is actually a language. So you can use that everywhere where you can actually use normal JavaScript as well. And providing small, concise examples would be nice. Games, there were quite a number of games where TAW, Thomas, well, I will not try to pronounce his last name. He created a number of tiny little games. I like them a lot. It's really a nice way of showing off the language. So maybe we can include that here as well. And then the main topic, the famous guides that Eric was working on, I included in here. Disregard the tiles are just some funny metaphors, the way how you first interact with the lady. So first date is about how to install Imba, what kind of tooling is available, and links to some further reading material. Next one, moving in, actually tells you the language per se, the literal styles, operators, and everything else that we have already documented elsewhere. The socializing is a reference to everything related to web, the templating, the DOM elements, the components, how they interact. So just to split those things apart, on one hand, you have the Imba language that is not necessarily coupled with web. And on the other hand, you have then these elements that come on top of it. Here's everything related to styles, the CSS stuff. And then finally, binding state life cycles, everything else comes in here. And the last topic, okay, I had lots of fun when I came up with the title.
Yeah.
the last step in a relationship. I mean, my daughter's just going through that. So meeting the parents, I mean, presenting the boyfriend or the girlfriend to the parents. So here we start talking about inheritance, about slots, about how does the import exporting the sharing state work. And very important, at least for me, is there are many ways of doing things, but there is probably just one correct way of doing things, best practices. It's a little bit the feedback that you guys are giving on the platform, on Discord, when people are asking you, okay, how can I pass these parameters from here to there? And you tell them, yeah, you best do it like this.
Yeah.
That part should go into best practices. I think that's important. Okay, language reference, of course, it's a list from A till Z covering absolutely everything in a succinct manner. So if anybody wants to look up on decorators or on anything else, he will find it in here. The how-tos is actually, how to do different things. When you're stumbling with something, how do you move on? So everybody at one point will be struggling in including some other modules published on Node.js or bundling or which kind of editor can I use and which one is the one that has the best Imba support. Well, all that goes here into how to. That's more or less what I had in mind for the documentation. This is a goal. I mean, a far-fetched goal. Nice to have. We don't have to do this from one day to the next, of course. It's just what I had in mind. Now, I really would love you to come up with a counter proposal to simplify this, to tell what can we take over, what should we skip, because well, of course, it's lack of time. We don't have endless resources. There are not so many people working on Imba.
Yeah,
Alexander, also for you, if you manage to get some free time to dedicate to this, creating an account on this platform, this is Checklist, I can send you a link, is for free. So, and then I share this document with you, and you can immediately just add your stuff in here and start shifting things around, like the way how I'm doing here, or yeah.
It looks very good, very promising. So I can take a look if you send me the link. If you can work on some of this stuff and make changes directly to the documentation, that's even better, in my opinion. I don't know, like it would be interesting to hear in detail what Sindre thinks about the structure, but for me, what you've shown, I think this looks great. I didn't see anything that was like, everything you showed looks very good. The defending Imba design, I like that section. I don't know if I would call it defending Imba design. Maybe I would try to change it to defending declarative careless rendering or something else. But, yeah, I like it. Good job. Very good stuff.
It is about defending more things. Like just pulling styles inline into the language is something a lot of people will have hesitations about, I guess. And I think it's important to address some of these things. And
yes, I am not so good at writing, so I was
neither.
just trying. No, well, I mean, we are all programmers in nature, so I think we are all a little bit resistant to writing. So I was just trying to come up with the titles or with the subjects, and then we see how to fill this up. So I just fear I would make a very bad job in actually filling out some of these chapters. I can, of course, I can copy paste. I had 0 looks yet at the Imba documentation, so I don't know yet what kind of plugins you're using with Markdown and everything else so that it works nice and smooth. I can work myself into it so as to really make some directly to work directly on the source code. But I prefer just for the normal prosa to continue writing here. The copy paste is an easy job. It's not so difficult, and I don't want to interfere with whatever Sindre or you, Alexander, are doing right now.
Yeah, I actually think that's a sensible approach. Like I think the documentation, especially now until we've crunched out the Scrimba version here, I think it's sensible to spend more time on these outlines and discussing them and trying to like come to an agreement about the structure of the documentation, because if we don't, then we will have lots of different efforts that kind of don't merge well together, and then it's just spending a lot of time without really getting any good results. So I think it's a great proposal.
Sindre, what do you propose? What would be the most dynamic way for us to interact to decide on the structure of the documentation? I really like this platform, the one that I'm using. I will send you a link to it. So I would really like to invite you to open up a free account and just join in the editing there. So Just
Yeah,
shifting
sure.
topics. Shifting topics around is just a matter of pressing Control and up arrow, down arrow, or well, Command up and down if you're on the Mac. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It's an outline editor. So I will send you some details.
Do that. That's nice.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds good. So let's move on to the next topic. I'm just gonna share my screen again. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Good. So the next topic was challenges for new Imba contributors, but to be honest, I really did not get to look at the issues. I was hoping to pick out a special issue or two for, was your name Da or Dar? I don't know where.
Yeah, I'll look at it, and I really don't know what to choose because really a lot of it's open. They are open, and some of I commented, but Sindra reacted to them fastly, really, and says it's done. So I really didn't know what to choose. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I see. I don't know the context of what you were talking about there. There's probably an issue or something I haven't seen. But like one thing that might be interesting is like the documentation efforts ongoing. Maybe that's something, or yeah, I don't know.
I think, to be honest, Alexander, I think that already, like, we're in the early beginnings here, and it's hard to really jump into documenting a language that you don't know, that isn't really documented for anyone just yet. Like Uloris is still scratching his head trying to figure out like basic things in the compiler, I guess, because it's just shaded documentation. So I think just using Imba 2 a lot and being active on Discord, being active, just joining these meetings, and also being active, posting issues and joining in on the discussions is a great start. Like in the state we are currently in, I think that's a fantastic contribution in and of itself.
I have a proposal, actually. Something which is very convenient for newcomers, I will go through it myself as well, is to create very short fragments, screencasts, testing out a new feature. So you grab something from the documentation where you just want to get around it, where you really want to understand it, and you create a small screencast about it. It doesn't require audio. Just with some comments, etc., you say what you want to do. So how it is done in JavaScript and how it is done better in Imba, for example, or the things to pay attention to, the things that you were falling over. And having those screencasts, very short fragments, eventually we can just take them and link them from the documentation. That would be great.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And that also has the additional benefit that the people that are not yet that used to Imba, they get to learn the language better.
Yeah, it sounds good. So Dar, do you have any experience with recording?
Recording, not so much, but I'll try, no problem.
Yeah, and if you don't want to put them on a separate YouTube channel, we could also look into having it on our YouTube channel, the Imba one.
Okay, no problem.
And if you, yeah, I could also edit them on my free time. So I've been practicing in iMovie, so that should go fine.
I'm user of iMovie too, so no problem.
Cool. Any more ideas for new Imba contributors?
Screencast, well, it can be on YouTube, but I was actually looking at using the fantastic Scrimba platform for that.
Yeah, that also works. That also works great.
I have a strong prejudice. I mean, it's personal, but I do have a strong prejudice with creating long videos because there is quite some effort involved by the person who does the video. And I don't know how much payoff there is. So how many people are actually watching the video? It depends a little bit on how interesting that is for the audience.
You know, like I also have strong views on this. I think like YouTube is one of the most underrated educational platforms on the planet. And if you look at the way we recruit teachers for Scrimba,
Yeah.
YouTube is definitely a strong thing we use. So you can also look at coding related. Just go search on YouTube. You're going to find so many different JavaScript topics, and just look at the video length. I do agree that in general, shorter videos are better. But Dar, if you want to record it on Scrimba, that's fantastic. But if you want to record it as a regular video, that's also great. That's basically content for our YouTube channel, if we can put it there. So yeah.
Yes. Talking about YouTube channels, I think I have seen at least 3 or 4 different channels, all more or less referring to Imba. Can we consolidate that?
I don't know which channels you're referring to. We have one channel that we are putting our efforts behind, and that's the one where we publish the bi-weekly stuff.
There are 2 channels with the name Imba in it, so they have to be consolidated for sure. And then there's a 3rd channel, which is your personal We Code. I think it's called, Alexander.
Yeah, that one I haven't been active on, but I've tried to. The goal there was to have lots of live streams on. There's a Reddit channel basically called I don't remember it, but Code Channel or something. But basically, it's like a Reddit subreddit where people post live coding. So I did some converting Svelte examples to Imba just to generate traffic, and that was that channel is dead, basically. I don't do anything there. And then Eric has another channel, which he does. But I'm hoping maybe he can help us with our channel instead of, considering he's responsible for the branding, or that's what one of the great contributions he's been making.
Yes, it's for people that search YouTube for the keyword Imba. They get spread out a little bit. They have many different channels to look at. So maybe just including a link back to the main channel dealing with Imba would be good.
Yeah, that's good. I can
so
add that to my sidebar.
Yes, so that we have one single main focus point on YouTube and on the other platform dealing with Imba.
But do you think those kind of videos would have been good? I thought they were too low quality. That's why I didn't want to put them on the official Imba channel.
Alexander, I got very interested when I saw the converting Svelte examples to Imba, because indeed I did pass through Svelte before landing on Imba. And I liked the architecture of Svelte, not as much as Imba, of course. So seeing the effort that somebody has actually picked up some examples of Svelte and then tried to rewrite that in Imba seemed to me a fantastic idea, an excellent idea. I'm not judging about the quality of the video, about the length of the video, about the content or things like that, but I love the idea. There are a lot of people. I mean, on the other hand, let's be diplomatic here. I'm not trying to steal people away from the Svelte platform, not at all.
I was trying to steal people from the Svelte crowd. That was my purpose. That's why I was waking up early in the morning and going to Forskningsparken and sitting there alone and streaming live on Twitch. That was the purpose, to get more Svelte developers to check out.
Well, guys, I really think that you have hit a gold mine there. So doing this tiny little examples of how to rewrite Svelte code in Imba is beautiful. The other topic also to keep in mind, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I did not succeed. Is is there a point in integrating JSX or MDX into Imba? I mean, what I'm looking at is something that links together Markdown and Imba coding. So where I can just repeat a couple of Markdown sections in a loop or stuff like that. And I don't think it's useful, but I'm just toying with the idea. Have you guys any background about that?
So we use Markdown in a lot of the projects I've done, at least in Imba, but obviously then I've just included Marked or some Markdown library and just added a utility tag that renders the Markdown. So we haven't thought about actually integrating Markdown at more of a language level.
I was just wondering if you can actually make an interface between the Imba language and Markdown, or if there's no point, just because the structure is so similar. I mean, Imba is not the tagged language, the XML-based language that HTML is. So you will run into difficulties there.
Yeah. So do you mean like essentially supporting Markdown like syntax in the tag trees or something, or?
I would love to have some people that are focusing on content editing to be able to do some intelligent content. So not just writing prosa, but eventually displaying a table or displaying some a column based on dynamic data and using the Imba structure for that.
Have you seen GitSpeak?
No.
Just to show that it works.
I saw a reference to it, but I thought that that was a commercial offering. I mean, similar to Scrimba, but yeah, focusing on GitHub.
Yeah.
Interacting.
Yeah, it's not really active right now because we're focusing on Scrimba, but I can share my desktop and you can, like, talking about editing. Do you see it here?
Yes.
Can you see my screen? So this is actually a rich Markdown editor in Imba. It's Imba 1 though, but that supports all kinds of, like, it supports Markdown like this, where you can change the headers and add lists and and you can add to-do lists and cross them off and do all sorts of things like that. And you can also add embed code segments here.
That's fantastic.
And this is written in Imba 1. So eventually, especially as part of the new version of Scrimba, we will eventually create a rich editor, textual content editor in Imba 2 as well, I think. This is really messy. We could open source it. I don't think there's any issue doing that, but it's extremely messy and very intertangled with a lot of the stuff in GitSpeak. But it's really nice. I'm using GitSpeak for hours every day for doing notes and stuff like that. So
that runs only on Macintosh?
No, it's basically a web app, but you can also, I think you can download it in, no, I think we removed the Windows download, but it is available for Windows somewhere.
Yeah, you should go to, I'll drop the link in the Discord, but there's some auto building going on GitHub somewhere. So you can pick if you're on Windows, and on Linux, I think there's also a straightforward way to get it.
Oh, great. I would love to try it out.
But let's take that's cool. But Peter was asking about something. Could you answer him, Sindre?
What? Where? Now? Or asking about something where?
In the chat, in Zoom.
In the chat here, okay.
Yeah, or if you want, Peter, you could ask it, just unmute yourself and ask in your mic. Let me see, let me share the meeting notes.
So are you essentially, are you talking about just, would we need PEG, or could you just essentially be allowed to create tags that are not native DOM elements at all, where you can just add your own setters and getters and add your own methods for creating children of that tag? Like, if I understand correctly, I do actually think we could do this without any sort of separate parser generator, but I might not understand.
So Peter, could you clarify what you mean? Just unmute the mic.
Or write in the chat if you want.
Or write in the chat, yeah. It's so confusing with the chat window in Zoom, it just disappears sometimes.
But yeah, I think we could also take that on the Discord channel though, so.
Cool, so the last topic was the t-shirts for V2. Eric is not here. And I don't, let's see, how many stars do we have now? It says 4K here up in the corner, but now it's 3,959. So it's very close. I really look forward to my Imba t-shirt. It's going to be nice. Has Eric told you anything about the t-shirt? Did you see anything?
No, I think he's busy with a lot of stuff these days, so.
Cool. So yeah, is there anything else? Did we miss something?
I don't think so. So I think next meeting will be more I'll have more stuff prepared and hopefully have gotten much longer on the reference documentation, especially because right now I'm in crunch mode.
Okay, well, sorry to hear that. I just had some wishful thinking about some minor syntax changes in Imba. One was this for business. I just documented that somewhere, and yeah, would be nice just to get a feedback like, okay, drop that. There's no point in it.
Yeah, no, I do like the proposal, but I think it's difficult to do that as the only. We could add it as a fourth or a fifth way to do loops. No, but I think it's having that as the only sort of loop is going to be bad for performance essentially. Like it's difficult to do something like that and compile it to native JS without making it quite a lot slower than the fastest ways to iterate over arrays in JavaScript.
That is a good justification. So the only motivation I had to come up with that was to reduce the different ways of doing for loops, because that is actually inherited from JavaScript, from all times JavaScript, which if anybody had the chance to redesign the language, they would probably make it different. So I said like, well, okay, Imba, we have the chance right now to make things different.
Yeah. So one thing I do think we could consider is to change for in to be what for off is in JavaScript now. Like make for in the native default type of iterator that actually uses the iterable protocol. But again, that is also slower, and I do know that we shouldn't focus only on performance, but especially since we're doing this careless declarative rendering concept. It is extremely important to make all sorts of like micro optimizations are actually extremely important here, because when you render a huge tag tree thousands of times, then even shaving off a tiny microsecond is actually relevant here. So
yeah, I mean, we follow your lead absolutely. So if there's a performance reason not to do it differently, then I fully agree with you. I wouldn't dare to to complain about it. A second point that is also a little bit in my head is about decorators. I finally understood a little bit, all this complex syntax about decorators. And I would love to simplify that to have something looking like the COA server, where you can just write some code before launching the child function, and then some code that gets executed afterwards, and then being able to change the properties of the function, the read only or read write and other things, just by using normal property access like you would do on an object. There's a way to simplify things where we deviate a little bit from the way how TypeScript is doing it nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I have actually thought about that myself, like creating a more, you might be talking about like a more less strange syntax for decorators. I was thinking about making decorators much more, what do you say? I don't remember the words, like a more custom syntax to make things much clearer, like what this decorator can do. Instead of being one cryptic function, it could almost be more like a class declaration where you declare the decorator and then you can add all sorts of hooks and stuff.
Also from the point of view, what is the most typical use for a decorator and what would be side cases. So the most typical use of decorator should be the one that has the easiest syntax to follow, so that anybody can start using decorators for their own purpose. Eventually, I would love to have a routing library for Imba based on decorators, for example.
Yeah.
That would be nice, but for that we have to simplify the decorators as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like decorators are essentially probably the least mature part of the language now, and if we decide not to push it front and center too much, I do think there is room for revamping and improving decorators quite a lot in 2.x releases, like after the official launch of 2.0. So if we can simplify it and improve it before that, then that's great. But we need to see what we have time for.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Sindre, do you see the 2.0 release as a language freeze as well?
To be honest, I don't, but much more so than Imba 1 to Imba 2. Like, we shouldn't have huge breaking semantic differences that makes it really difficult to migrate your code. But I'm definitely open for not only adding features, but also adding smaller breaking changes. But ideally, we should have migration support to automatically.
Yes, because if people start using Imba for a little bit larger projects, they would not be too pleased if we start changing the language every now and then. I mean, doing bigger or smaller breaking changes.
Yeah.
So there should be a certain stability, and eventually pushing to version 3 once we learn from the experience to see, like, okay, all this can be improved, but that should then be a big version jump. So I'm I'm thinking about maybe sneaking in all these little changes before reaching the 2.0 release.
Yeah. I think we just need to at least have time to use them in practice. That's one of my main that's one of my main things that I really, that's the way I develop things. It's basically, I call it development-driven development. That's I just develop and then I try using it during development, and then I just see what works and what doesn't. So I'm really sloppy at just adding experimental features to the language all the time now that we're still in alpha, because I need to use it in real projects to see if it sticks. Kind of.
Yeah, well, that's my mistake. I didn't use that much Imba, so I apologize. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Should we wrap things up, or?
Yeah, so I think, Peter, I just want to say, if you can hear us, please continue in the Discord. It's super hard to read code examples in the chat. So it's probably better to just Discord.
But
cool.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool,
I think
we're actually 6 people now. I think that's a record.
I was going to actually say that. I even took a screenshot of the participant list. I was going to post it in the Slack. So awesome. Cool. Let's wrap up. And Sindre, 2 weeks from now, is that a good time, or do you want me to call you later?
I guess I think it's good to have a set time slot. So 2 weeks is fine. I hope we're done with the whole crunch hell before that, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Cool. Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
Talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.